Welcome back to my studio. I had two goals for this painting. Initially, I just wanted to edit this scene to make it more interesting. But as I began painting it, I realized I wanted to experiment with a more impressionistic style. So let me show you the photo and the changes that I made. I really liked this photo. The things I liked about it were the black lichen and the change of the water to pale green in the distance. And I really liked that little bitty fisherman on the far cliff. I thought it needed some editing to make it more interesting though, and I wanted the space in the distance between the rocks to be a little bit wider so you could see the water better. And I also eliminated the rocks at the bottom of the scene because I wanted to show more water. So I did a basic tone with transparent red oxide by Rembrandt, and then I did the outline in the same. After that, I took some Ultramarine Blue and Alizarin Crimson and blocked in the black area that was on the rocks and any dark areas with the same color. At this point, I'm adding a slightly lighter version of that color. I added a little titanium white to show the reflections in the water below the rocks. Then I started experimenting with some sky colors and decided to fill that in. And the sky kept getting darker as I went, but I kind of liked it, so I thought I'd go with it and lighten it up later if I needed to. And then stepped back to see if I liked what I was seeing. I started to add some gray for the light areas, and as you see down the road a little bit, I didn't really like the contrast, and I did change it after all. And then I started working on the water, and obviously that needed to be darker than the sky. So I used a little ultramarine blue with phthalo blue and a little bit of red iron oxide to dull it somewhat. And in some areas I added some purple on the lower right corner, and then when I got up here I changed the color of the water to that lovely little green. Now these are some really useful colors to use when you're painting the ocean, the radiant turquoise and phthalo turquoise, and then you just add a little bit of yellow to it and it makes a really nice green. So on the left is the phthalo turquoise and on the right is the radiant turquoise. And I added lemon yellow to both of these. You can also add cad yellow medium. Now this little guy made me kind of nervous, but I do kind of like the way he turned out. This fog needed to be more prominent, taller, and darker. Actually, I feel like I didn't really get it right. To me, it looks more like a distant mountain range. And the sky needed more gradation. It definitely would have been easier to put this figure on after the sky was in. This panel was very slick. I should have put gesso on it before I started because with the second layer I was removing the underpainting. The rocks definitely needed to be darker to reflect that black lichen that was on it. I was focusing on a looser style, was trying to imply the rocks and not really be specific. The final layer of the water was in distinct brush strokes, and I was trying to get that impressionistic appearance that I was looking for. I was adding more shadow under the rocks, and I think I actually got rid of some nice brown that should have stayed there. And so I added it back. This was the end of day 1. So the following weekend I got back to this and I started on the fog. It needed to be taller, it needed to be behind the little fisherman, and the sky needed to be fixed. Now the painting was dry and I was able to add new paint without having a big mess like I was getting the other day. And here I am dancing around the fisherman again. So I'm adding more paint. I'm trying to give it a more textured look on top. And of course, that's too much of a demarcation between the lighter color and the darker color. So now I'm blending it in with the top. So the sea needed a little bit more variation in the green. I worked on that. I got back down the bottom here and wanted to make it more vivid. And knowing I tend to overwork paintings, this is where I stopped. And here's the final painting.